They analyze more data than humans can process. They detect patterns quickly. They produce recommendations with clear confidence scores. In theory, that should make decisions easier. But in practice, something more complicated can happen. Sometimes the presence of confident algorithmic advice makes good decisions harder to make. Consider a doctor reviewing a diagnostic suggestion from an AI system. The model analyzes medical images and predicts the likelihood of a condition. It highlights suspicious areas and assigns a probability score. The doctor examines the scan and feels uncertain. Based on experience, something about the case seems unusual. The patient's symptoms do not perfectly match the system's prediction. Now a tension appears. Should the doctor trust personal judgment or follow the algorithm's recommendation? Even when the human has doubts, ignoring the system can feel risky. Situations like this are becoming common across many fields. Financial analysts receive algorithmic forecasts. Hiring managers review rankings generated by automated screening tools. Logistics teams follow route suggestions from optimization systems. In each case, the system presents an answer that looks precise and data-driven. Humans still make the final decision, but the presence of the recommendation changes how that decision is made. One reason is psychological. Algorithmic outputs appear confident and structured. Numbers, rankings, and probability scores create the impression of objectivity. Humans often treat these signals as authoritative, even when they know the system can be wrong. Researchers sometimes call this automation bias, the tendency to rely on automated suggestions more than independent reasoning would justify. When a system speaks with apparent certainty, disagreement becomes uncomfortable. There is also an institutional dimension. In many organizations, following algorithmic advice feels safer than rejecting it. If a decision goes wrong after following the system, responsibility appears shared with the technology. But if someone ignores the recommendation and the outcome is negative, the choice may attract more scrutiny. Over time, this dynamic encourages people to defer to systems even when context suggests caution. The safest decision becomes the one that aligns with the algorithm. This does not mean algorithmic recommendations are harmful. In many environments, they genuinely improve outcomes. AI systems perform well in areas such as fraud detection, medical image analysis, and supply chain optimization. They often detect patterns humans might overlook. In some cases, the best decision is precisely the one suggested by the model. The problem arises when confidence in the system replaces careful evaluation. Good decisions often depend on context. Most models rely on historical patterns and structured inputs, but real-world situations sometimes involve unusual circumstances, incomplete information, or changing conditions. Humans may notice these signals through experience. If decision-makers rely too heavily on automated guidance, they may stop asking whether the recommendation actually fits the situation. The system gradually becomes a default authority. Speed can amplify this effect. AI tools generate recommendations quickly. In fast-moving environments, the system's answer often arrives before anyone has time to analyze the problem independently. The human role shifts from evaluating options to confirming the model's suggestion. Efficiency can quietly reduce deliberation. There is a reasonable counterargument. Some observers argue that algorithmic advice improves decisions by reducing bias and inconsistency. Human judgment can be influenced by mood, fatigue, or personal preference. Algorithms apply the same rules across cases. In fields such as lending or insurance, this consistency can reduce arbitrary differences in outcomes. From this perspective, algorithmic guidance makes decisions more reliable. Both views contain truth. AI systems can improve average decision quality in many contexts, but the interaction between human judgment and automated recommendations remains complex. The challenge is not only accuracy, it is how people behave when systems present confident answers. If decision-makers stop interrogating those answers, judgment may weaken even while the technology improves. Second-order effects can appear over time. When organizations rely heavily on algorithmic guidance, employees may have fewer opportunities to practice independent reasoning. Junior professionals may become accustomed to verifying system outputs instead of forming their own initial assessments. Skills that once developed through repeated decision-making may gradually fade. The system becomes the first, and sometimes the only, the source of analysis. Some organizations are experimenting with ways to address this tension. In certain settings, decision makers review cases without seeing the algorithm's recommendation at first. They form an independent opinion and only later compare it with the system's suggestion. This approach helps preserve human reasoning while still benefiting from automated analysis. Other organizations focus training on understanding the limits of AI systems rather than treating them as infallible advisors. The goal is balance. As AI becomes embedded in more workflows, that balance will matter more. Algorithmic advice will likely become more sophisticated and more persuasive. The temptation to defer to automated recommendations will grow as well. But good decisions rarely depend on data alone. They require interpretation, context, and the ability to recognize when patterns do not apply. The presence of AI does not remove the need for judgment. If anything, it may make judgment more important. Because when systems produce confident answers, the hardest decision may not be choosing what to do. It may be deciding when to question the recommendation in the first place.